Hello, friends. Hello, and welcome to the full moon video for the full moon in Scorpio on May 12th, 2025. So, if you have been feeling just this urge, maybe not even an urge, maybe just like a need to express yourself, to share from a place of authenticity and to share from a place of no apologizing. Congratulations, you're totally feeling the energies of the Scorpio full moon. And when I felt it intuitively to the energies of the full moon, the theme that I received was unapologetic and authentic expression. But what was interesting about this is that, yes, it was all about us showing up, expressing ourselves. And expressing ourselves doesn't mean just like verbally or vocally. Expression can be dance, expression can be art, expression can be writing, expression can be like stretching on the floor, making weird noises. You know what I mean? Like it's just expression. So it can look like lots of different things. But what was super interesting when I felt it intuitively is while I felt this strength and this kind of confidence of like expressing yourself authentically, it was also paired and matched with a deep, deep fear. When I felt it intuitively, I got this really deep fear. And the fear that I felt was almost this like ancient fear of losing belonging, this ancient fear of like, if I actually show up unapologetically and authentically, are people gonna cancel me? Am I gonna lose belonging from this? Um, what was interesting is that the guidance was like, no, show up authentically anyway and unapologetically anyway. Bring the fear with you. Don't let the fear stop you. Do it afraid. And there's a lot of reasons why. Like there's a lot of connections that's made when we actually are vulnerable with our fear, but we'll get into that in just a moment. I just want to talk a little bit more about some of the astrology around this full moon as well. So, just a little bit about Scorpio, because yes, this is a Scorpio full moon, and Scorpio is probably one of the most intense of the zodiac signs. Scorpio loves her some transformation. Scorpio is known to be intense, passionate, um, did I say intense?
Could be a
Scorpio's
bit,
also, yeah, very
yeah.
curious, like very, very curious. On the shadow side, Scorpio is definitely known for being perhaps a bit over dramatic, possessive, jealous. But Scorpio is also on the light side, well, light, shadow, whatever, all of it. It's all whole. It all makes us whole, right? Scorpio is also known for being extremely intuitive, water sign. All water signs are. And Scorpio is the fixed water sign. Yeah, fixed water
Yeah.
sign of the zodiac. So that means Scorpio is like super watery. The fixed signs are ones that are pretty rooted in like the element itself. So what we know about water is that it is the most emotional and intuitive of the elements themselves. So we know Scorpio energy is quite emotional, quite intuitive. But what's really cool about water also is that it holds history, it holds memory. And I think that's a cool thing about Scorpio with the way that they are so interested in things. They can get really, really curious about things. And I think that has to do with just like the way that water holds information in particular. And what I really love about Scorpio's curiosity is like they're really curious about things that other people avoid. They get
Hmm.
really curious about like the taboo. They get really curious about like sex and death and dismay and the things that other people are like, I don't want to go there. That
Right.
scares me. That scares
Yeah.
me. Right? Like Scorpio's like, ooh, it's scary. Let's learn more. Let's feel in more. Um, which is again why I feel like this fear was actually something I felt very intuitively around this full moon as well. So, one thing also to note, interestingly, of course, when we have the Scorpio full moon, we are in Taurus season. The sun is in Taurus. And when we think a little bit about the relationship between Scorpio and Taurus, Scorpio is so much about the intangible, and Taurus is so much about the tangible.
Yes.
And
Yes.
Scorpio is all about emotion, and Taurus is all about like practicality.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even say action. I would just say practicality.
Yes. Great word
Um,
for
yeah.
Taurus.
But I think that they also can be really wonderful for each other.
They kind of,
Um,
yeah, they balance each other out.
Of course, all sister signs do. Like
Yeah.
they do. The polarity between them also balances each other out. And, with the Taurus energy and with Taurus sometimes being a little resistant to change, when we have Scorpio moon coming in, that's really urging us to transform, to allow change to happen, to, illuminate what needs to be changed and to release. That can be really good for that Taurus season to remind us that like things are meant to change. Nothing stays static. Everything is actually always changing here on Earth. I think it's good for Taurus to remember that sometimes.
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
I mean,
So, yeah, go
they're
ahead.
both fixed signs, so it's interesting. Like Scorpio is about transformation, but it also has a tendency of getting stuck in its ways and stuck
Yeah,
in like there's still that element of being
fixed.
stubborn to an extent of
Yeah,
like this is what we're doing. We're only going deep and not recognizing that maybe not it's not always the time to go deep. It's not
yeah,
always time for transformation. Like we need to get a bit more realistic. We need to get a bit more grounded before we can
yeah,
make big change as well too. And
yeah,
so there is still that element of getting stuck in our ways with both of them.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But I like what you just shared because like that's how Scorpio, I mean, we talked about how Scorpio helps Taurus, but that's also how Taurus helps Scorpio with the grounding, with like the
exactly.
practicality of it and everything. Yeah.
Right.
So let's
Right.
talk a
It's
little bit about
sustainable
some.
change.
Oh yeah, definitely. And that's
Yeah.
that's the truth because with this Scorpio full moon, it is about expression, but it's unapologetic and authentic expression. And what I mean when I say authentic expression, it's kind of the difference between responding versus reacting. Right? Like when we're reacting to something, it's not usually the most authentic. It might be the most activated, but that doesn't mean it's the most authentic. So when we're talking about the things that are the most authentic, we're talking about things that are deeper from the soul level. Um, and when we're talking about expression, that the way that the Scorpio full moon wants us to express, it wants us to express from such a deep place of authenticity that it is sustainable. This isn't just us reacting to what's happening around us. This is us responding from a deep place of inner knowing.
Right.
And that's a more sustainable place to come from as well. So I love that you shared that word in particular. Um, so let's just talk a little bit about some of the astrology around this moon, because Sarah, I think you had mentioned right before we hit record that it's a little tense. I mean, it is Scorpio, so
Yes, exactly. Yeah, there's some more intense transits happening with this, but as always with astrology, it's in the name of growth, as I like to say. So to kick us off, we have the moon itself forming a loose opposition to Uranus. At the time of exactitude, it's about 4 degrees away from being an exact opposition, which means earlier in that day, the moon would have hit the exact opposition. So I'm still including it in this full moon chart. And Uranus rules unexpected changes. It rules sudden changes. It also rules independence and the things that allow us to feel closer to who we are, our authenticity, our originality, the things that can liberate us from feeling restricted, from feeling tied down to doing things in a certain way. Um, Depending how Uranus is activated, it could help us. If it's a more supportive transit, it could bring us things that help us feel more free. If it's a tense transit, it will probably highlight the things like an opposition is. It will probably highlight the things that make us feel more limited so that we can start to break free from those things and really, um, you know, it'll just be put right in our face, kind of like, oh, this thing makes me feel really tied down.
yeah.
Um, And interestingly, Pluto and Mercury are forming a square to each other. Neither of them are connecting with the moon, but this transit is almost exact at the same time of the exactitude of the full moon. So it's most definitely a big part of this full moon chart.
Yeah.
And Pluto is the modern day ruler of Scorpio. So it just kind of doubles down on the intensity, on the transformation on the need to go deep and uncover hidden truths. And when it's square to Mercury, um, it really brings a lot of like obsessiveness into the way that we're thinking. And so it's
Mm,
really easy to go down a hole of obsessive thinking. Pluto also rules control and
Mhm.
what we have power over, and it highlights power dynamics. And with the square, normally power struggles, especially in conversations, especially with our mind and our thoughts.
Mhm.
And so I think it's really interesting that Uranus comes up, bringing up unexpected situations, which is generally things that we didn't plan for, therefore we don't have full control over.
Yeah.
So I think it's a very interesting energy that is most likely going to bring up things we weren't expecting to test our relationship with control and power. How do we respond when things don't go according to our plan? And it really gives us a moment to trust that we will be okay, even when we don't have full control of a situation or a conversation. So if it's
Yeah.
whether it's an event or a situation that happens, or maybe you are obsessively thinking and spiraling about something, all of that is an invitation to really look in, like if it is an obsessive thought, to look into like, why am I really obsessing about this thought? Is it because I don't know the outcome and my brain can't settle until I know what's going to happen, which a lot of the time we don't have a crystal ball. We can't jump into the future and see exactly how things are going to go.
Right. Even as an
So it's
intuitive, it doesn't work like that. It just doesn't work
right.
that way.
Right? We don't know exactly how it's going to go, and we're not meant to know how it's
No,
exactly going to go
no, we're not.
because these different situations are how we can understand ourselves better. So with the moon forming in opposition to Uranus, that means the sun is just a few degrees away from Uranus. So that brings this whole level of self-expression as well
Yeah.
too. And so when the
Yeah.
sun and Uranus come together, it is a moment for us to see ourselves and put ourselves in different situations and learn about ourselves, being like, oh, hey, I didn't realize that I would show up like that. I didn't realize I would express myself in that way because I've never been in this situation before. So you get
Yeah.
to learn new sides of yourself. So
Ooh,
I know
I
it's all
like
this really
that.
interesting stuff about like, it's just
Yeah.
gonna, we're gonna challenge our relationship to control and power while also learning new sides of ourselves.
Yeah. And I like that too. Like I'm just thinking about, what I intuited and how it all fits and everything. And it's almost like when we're learning new parts of ourselves, because like we've never been in that situation, so we've never had to like respond to it before. It's almost like, yeah, of course it's going to be unapologetic because we don't know, like there's nothing to apologize for. This is just what's happening in the moment, right? Um, I don't know. I find that really interesting. And what you shared in terms of like control and uncertain change, unknown changes, to me, that makes so much sense why I felt this kind of fear
Mhm.
around this full moon too. Because both of those things, lack of control and like unknown changes, are very
Scary.
scary for us humans,
Yeah.
especially in this time now where it feels like a lot of changes are happening that we do not want. And there's a lot of things happening that are out of our control that also we do not want. And so it's very scary. And so not for nothing that I felt that fear come up. But what I think is so interesting about the fear that I felt intuitively with this full moon is that, and even with Scorpio, because Scorpio would be like, oh, take the fear and transform it. And I think there is an aspect of that. But I feel like in order for us to take the fear and transform it, like we actually have to invite it in. We actually have to
Mm.
like walk a mile with it. And I do feel like this Scorpio full moon is kind of like go for a walk with your own fear as well. And there's a couple of reasons why I feel like that's super, super important. One, because when we walk with our fear, when we are set to do something and we have the fear and we go do the thing with the fear with us, what are we doing? We're being brave. We're being
Mhm.
courageous. So it is the walk with the fear that pulls up bravery, that pulls up courage within us, right? And that in itself is a transformation of fear into something else.
Right.
So just that alone. And then also, what I think is super interesting right now is one of the core fears that we have as a human, and this is the fear that I first intuited when I felt into this full moon, is the fear of losing belonging because of our authenticity. Losing belonging because we're showing up as we really are and people are going to reject us for it, right? And I think that there's good reason we have that fear. I think when we look at history, there's been many times where people have lost belonging because their authenticity was so important. And the truth is that if you sacrifice your authenticity for belonging, you're abandoning yourself.
Mm.
You're betraying yourself, right? And that doesn't feel good either internally. And so I think there's this recognition, like I think we have this fear of like, oh, if I show up as I really am, people aren't going to like me. They're going to cancel me. They're going to pretend they don't know me. They're going to throw me out. I'm going to be rejected. But I think one thing that's shifting for us with social media, with the way people are showing up, is that it's when people are showing up authentically with everything there, the fear, the whatever it might be. But when it's authentic, people can feel that. And when there's like a level of vulnerability, people can feel it. And it's super attractive to us. It's actually like super magnetic and it makes us want to know that person and want to be friends with that person. And we want to actually accept them in. And so it's almost like there's this old fear we have that's not even true anymore. We have this old fear that if we show up authentically, we're going to lose belonging. When in honesty, where we're at as a collective right now is the more authentically we show up, the more we find belonging. So
It's
it's,
true.
I feel like, and when we talk about full moons, it's always an illumination and a release, right? So I feel like there's this really big illumination for us with this full moon of like, where have I abandoned myself for belonging? Where have I denied my own authentic expression out of apologizing for everyone else? You know what I mean? Like, where is that within me? How have I done that? And how can I now release this belief I have that if I show up as my true self, that I'll be rejected? Like, can I completely release the belief, the fear itself that showing up authentically is going to lead to lack of belonging? Because the truth is actually opposite of that. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So that to me feels like a major theme with this full moon. Yes, it's unapologetic and authentic expression for the sense of real authentic belonging. That's kind of like the end goal here is a sense of not only just belonging to a collective, but like belonging to ourselves, belonging to our sense of why we're even here.
Right. Right.
So yeah, that's what I got.
That's awesome. I love it. I love it.
So, friends, if you would like to work more with the energies of this full moon, please check out the moon blog. We will link it below. We have, a lot more of what we just discussed here. If you want to get even deeper with the full moon and you're looking to do it with authentic belonging in community, please come check us out at the Intuitive Moon community, where we also have horoscopes and journal prompts and ways to work with the moon for you. And we also will be circling up on Monday, May 12th over Zoom for a full moon in Scorpio circle, and I'll be doing intuitive reads. And for anyone who's watching who is also local to San Diego, there will also be an in-person moon circle Monday night, May 12th for the Scorpio full moon. And it's going to be housed in North County, San Diego's first and only salt room. So we're going to have this moon circle in a sea salt crystal room. And we're only taking like 8 people for this because it's a small space. So if you want more information, DM me, get in touch with me, or I will link it below in the notes as well. So I guess that's it. Thank you guys so much for being here, for watching the video. Again, if you want to work more with the energies of this moon, look down there. We got lots of ways to help you out and bring you into more community and more opportunities to work with the magic of La Luna, the magic of the moon. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like, share, subscribe, save, do all the things. And we'll see you again in a few weeks. Bye, friends.
Okay. Bye.